You have to be quiet in your mind. Get away from people. It's okay to be alone. We love being around people. We love talking. We love parties. We love all that shit. It's okay to be alone. It's also okay to be unhappy. It's okay to be unhappy sometimes, man. It's okay to say, you know what, man, I'm fucked up. So you gotta go to the truth first. Who are you? Get really accountable and say, okay, who am I? What's the truth about me? Get to that dark place in your mind. Figure out. It may take months, it may take years. Figure out your purpose. Figure out what you want to be in life. And then from there, okay, I have my purpose. It may take a long time. No one knows their purpose because it's too loud. Find your purpose. From there, all right, you gotta start planning.
In order to have any positive meaning in your life, you have to have identified a goal and you have to be working towards it. And there is a technical reason for that. And the technical reason, as far as I can tell, is that the circuitry that produces the kind of positive emotion that people really like is only activated when you notice that when you're proceeding towards a goal that you value.
Where do I see myself? And then I start making these plans and how I'm gonna get there. And I don't deviate from that plan. So that's kind of how I do them now. I mean, it's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of quiet time. I shut out a lot of noise. I only have people in my life that need to be there. If you don't need to be in my life, I'm not about acquiring more friends. I'm not about noise. I'm about, okay, are you trying to go somewhere? You can jump on board. If not, I don't want to hear all your problems. Do you have a solution for your problem? That's what I'm all about right now. So I'm not about whining, bitching, complaining. I'm about, okay, we need to go this way. So that's the biggest thing.
And so that means that if you don't have a goal that you value, you can't have any positive emotion. So technically that's the incentive reward system, and the underlying circuitry is dopaminergic. And when that circuitry is activated, then it's part of the exploratory circuit. It gives you the sense of being actively engaged in something worthwhile.
People love the planning phase because it's very comfortable. And then from the planning phase, you gotta go to execution. So the execution phase, what we all hate, because that's where the real work begins, and that's when the failure happens, and the failure. So, but you know, that's kind of how you have to do it. I pick these hard things that most people think you can't finish anyway. So, you know, you go out there, you grind, you're alone, you're in your own head. I work best alone. So those are easier. You know, I figured out a way to kind of challenge your mind, channel it and challenge it at the same time. And I figured out a way to kind of just have an indestructible toolbox. So those are easier. There's always a blockade. There's a barrier in your brain. There's a barrier. You got to find out what kind of removes that barrier from your brain. My biggest barrier was my father. And once I removed that barrier, I was free to think. And once I felt good about myself, I was free to put action in. I never felt good about myself. Whenever I would get somewhere, the demon would come back, put me right back in the cage. If you don't go back, like I'm a runner, left knee hurts. A lot of people focus on that fucking left knee. A lot of times it's your fucking right hip. And that's about life. You gotta figure out what has messed you up mentally. Go to the source. Go to the origin of the source. So that, you know, that whole accountability mirror, every single thing I've ever done that's in that book or anywhere else was on my own. Everything.
You tend to think of positive emotion as something produced by reward. But there's two kinds of positive emotion. One is the reward that's associated with satiation, and that's consummatory reward, and that's the reward you get when you're hungry and you eat. But the thing about eating when you're hungry is that it destroys the framework within which you were operating. Right? It's time to eat. Well, you eat, and then that framework's no longer relevant. So the consummatory reward eliminates the value framework, and then you're stuck with, well, what are you going to do next? And so the consummatory reward has with it its own problems, but the incentive reward is constantly what keeps you moving forward. And incentive reward, because it's dopaminergic, also is analgesic, literally analgesic. So if you're in pain, you take opiates and that will cut the pain, but so will psychomotor stimulants like cocaine or amphetamines. And so it's literally the case that if you're engaged in something that's engaging and you're working towards a goal, that you're going to feel less pain. So that's an interesting thing, because what it suggests, I mean, then you could imagine, I might say, well, how happy are you that you've made a certain amount of progress? And if you think about it, what you'd say is, well, it depends on how much progress and in relationship to what. So hypothetically, you're going to be happier if you've made quite a bit of progress towards a really important goal.
My thing that keeps me going every day is my mission in life. Wow, I did not choose it. I'm an introvert and I can hate what we're doing even right now. You man the fuck up every fucking day of your life because you know exactly what it is to not man up. I've done that too many times in my life. So that's what keeps me going. I get that question a lot. While it helps you, it also hurts you to come from darkness, because why? It's easy for me to sit back and say, you know what? Poopy pants mentality. I want to sit back and let the world take care of me now. And that's what I'm talking about. Don't play sick too long. While my childhood was so messed up, I played sick way too long, and I almost lost tons of opportunities by playing sick. Because it feels good to play sick. My dad beat the shit out of me, man. I couldn't read. I can't read. You know, when I was a junior in high school, I couldn't read. If you live that life, it feels good for people that, oh man, you know, that's just David, man. He's just not real smart. He had a bad life. You get a get out of jail free card. That's nice. It sucks doing what I had to do to get here today. That darkness is, there's nothing that dark to drive me to the places I had to go to become successful. On the flip side of that, if you come from a silver spoon family, you have to realize that. There's people out there like David Goggins who had nothing. And I've had all this opportunity in front of me, and I'm a loser. I'm not shit. So what does that say about me? The conversations are very similar. You have all this opportunity and you've gone nowhere with it.
The terror of realizing that is that it actually starts to matter what you do. And you might say, well, that's better than living a meaningless existence. It's better for it to matter. But I mean, if you really asked yourself, would you be so sure if you had the choice? I can live with no responsibility whatsoever. The price I pay is that nothing matters. Or I can reverse it and everything matters. But I have to take the responsibility that's associated with that. It's not so obvious to me that people would take the meaningful path. You know, when you say, well, nihilists suffer dreadfully because there's no meaning in their life and they still suffer. Yeah, but the advantage is they have no responsibility. So that's the payoff, and I actually think that's the motivation. Say, well, I can't help being nihilistic. All my belief systems have collapsed. It's like, yeah, maybe. Maybe you've just allowed them to collapse because it's a hell of a lot easier than acting them out. And the price you pay is some meaningless suffering, but you can always whine about that and people will feel sorry for you, and you have the option of taking the pathway of the martyr, so that's a pretty good deal, all things considered, especially when the alternative is to bear your burden properly and to live forthrightly in the world. Well, what Solzhenitsyn figured out, and so many people in the 20th century, it's not just him, even though he's the best example, is that if you live a pathological life, you pathologize your society. And if enough people do that, then it's hell.